What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another Throwback Thursday. Today, we're playing Super Mario Bros. 2. Absolute classic, way back in the day. The story that they tell in the game is different from what's in the rulebook. He falls asleep, he hears a voice that needs help. He wakes up, he goes to a nearby cave, and he opens up to what he saw in his dream, which is really weird. But let's try it out. Let's see if I still got it. Now, this is kind of wild because this Super Mario Bros. Game is a lot different than most. And the reason that it's so different is because in Japan, and I'm pretty sure a bunch of you know this, but in Japan, they had a Super Mario Bros. 2, which was pretty much the original Super Mario Bros. Game, just with like redesigned levels and everything. It was pretty wild. And I guess the Japanese thought that it would be too hard for American audiences. So they decided not to release it in the United States. Instead, what we got was this, Super Mario Bros. 2. Now, this is not even like Super Mario Bros. 2. It wasn't specially made for us. This is actually a game called Doki Doki Panic, which was the original title. They just altered it so it has Mario characters in it. Now, the crazy thing is that you do have 4 characters that you can select from, and each one does have the different powers like the different characters have. Mario is basically well-rounded. Luigi jumps and then can kind of do that weird floating jump thing. Toad is really quick at picking coins up. And then we have Princess, who is actually able to just float. She can jump and then just floats. So that's what the characters in the original game were able to do as well. So there was no real change between those aspects. The only changes were between, like the characters and they're just changing them into Mario characters, which was pretty wild. Now, it's kind of cool, like if you ever have a chance to look at old school emulators or even, like websites that really deal in like retro gaming, which, by the way, I have a retro gaming channel. It's called Dark Retro. There's a link in the description below to it. If you're interested in these kind of games, definitely go check that channel out. I have tons of old school Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Sega, Atari, and just more on the way. Super Nintendo. I'm trying to get like a really big collection of different games. And if there's anything that you ever want to see on that channel, or even on the Throwback Thursday, if you want to see me complete any games that like I had started on this channel, by all means, let me know in the comments, or you can even email me, hit me up on any of the socials, and I'll get to it. If you ever want to know like the history of certain games, like like I plan on doing on the Dark Retro channel, definitely let me know that as well. Mario is such an interesting character because there are so many different things that were involved with the original Super Mario Bros. Game, in fact. There is a version of Super Mario Bros., the original one. There was like a TV show, I forget what it was called, but they have the characters from the TV show in this mashup video game with Mario and the characters from this TV show. It was like a live-action TV show, kind of like a skit show, kind of like In Living Color or SNL, Saturday Night Live, things of that nature, things in that vein. So, that was pretty cool. There are tons of hacks with Mario. There actually was, and this isn't even like a Super Mario Bros. Game, but there was a father who had an original Nintendo, and his daughter wondered why it was always the guy saving the princess. So he altered a Donkey Kong game so that Pauline, the person that you're supposed to save from Donkey Kong in the original Donkey Kong game, you could play as her and save Mario, which I thought was kind of cool. And then there are all these other hacks. I'm pretty sure that you guys have heard there's, to no end, there are perverted hacks of like the game. You know, there's a lot of nonsense where it's like nude Mario Brothers and stuff like that. There was also a kind of rip-off of the Mario Brothers, but it became wildly popular, and the first time I ever played this game, it was on the Commodore 64. It was called the Great Gianna Sisters, and basically it was like a really... I mean, this girl had like a bad hair day. You played as like a blonde girl, basically wearing Mario's iconic colors, but instead of, you know, like a overall and overalls and a red shirt, she was wearing a red shirt and a skirt, like a blue skirt. And some of the characters did look a lot like the characters from the Mario games. There were these Goomba characters from the first game, or from the first level, that you would see in the first level. Instead of coins, you picked up diamonds. They actually did re-release a couple of different versions of the game on different systems, including last generation Xbox 360 and or Xbox One and PS4. So, you know, that's kind of wild that they did stuff like that. There have been tons of other rip-offs of the game. Of course, Nintendo will peg you if you have a rip-off of the game. They are notorious for shutting down anything to do with their property. You know, if you're playing, I don't even know, this might get copyright claimed. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But if it does, to hell with it. I'll still play through this entire game just for the love of the game, just if it's something that you guys are interested in. But there have been like a lot of fan projects, and they've shut that down. Not just for Mario, like Pokemon's another popular one. The Legend of Zelda, that's another popular one, where people make fan games, you know, for love of the game, obviously, and Nintendo will completely shut it down. Even if it's not for profit, even if they're just selling it for, or giving it away, they're very protective of their IPs. They don't want you messing around with it at all. This, I was always kind of bad at, this bonus chance. I never understood the real method to it. What I would always do is just try to get the cherries all the time. Just hit it fast. I think I even had like a Nintendo Power magazine that said just do that. I'm not sure. I gotta really look it up. I don't know if Doki Doki Panic actually had these characters, or if they had different looking characters. If these characters were made specifically for this game, or if these characters are brand new. Honestly, if they're not brand new, if they are brand new, you know, they've made their ways in other games. A couple of them have, at least. We know that, you know, in like Mario Racing, they have Birdo, which is the weird bird that I just fought that was shooting the eggs. You know, we had that. Really weird about Birdo too is that I guess Birdo is transgender. In the actual manual that came with the game, Birdo, they explain how Birdo, you know, like, thought it was a boy or something like that. And then in the manual for the Japanese version, whenever you see anything about Birdo, it says that Birdo was a boy that became a girl, which is kind of wild, especially since they kind of ship Birdo with Yoshi, which is weird. That's really weird. Anyway, you know, it's just again, there's so much lore behind Mario. I mean, obviously came out in the original Donkey Kong. He was a carpenter back then, not a plumber. He was an actual carpenter. And his whole job was working on a construction site, and then all of a sudden, Donkey Kong steals his girlfriend, and he has to go and save her, Pauline. Now, the other weird thing is that in some continuity, like they had a cartoon back in the 1980s. It was called the Saturday Supercade, and they used to have a bunch of different video games from arcades as cartoons, and Donkey Kong was one of said video game cartoons that were added to this lineup. Really weird thing was that even though Mario was in there, Mario does not look like the Mario of today. He was, I mean, a little thinner, a little schlubbier, you know? He was pretty funny though. It was a real enjoyable cartoon. But Pauline was his niece in that one, which again, really weird how they altered what was going on. Oh man, I hate this mouse here. Anybody who I think grew up in North America will remember the Mario Brothers cartoon. They had the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, and all the cartoons involved Bowser, but they called him King Koopa, and he looked different than he did in the video games. He looked more kind of like a reptile. He looked more Godzilla-like than turtle-like, or even with red hair or anything like that. And then, of course, there were other versions of like that cartoon. They had like eventually it was a Saturday morning cartoon that was with Super Mario Bros. 3. Then it evolved to Super Mario World. The Super Mario Bros. Super Show, which was Monday through Friday, had 4 episodes of cartoons with Mario. And on Friday, it was a cartoon with The Legend of Zelda. There was live action segments of it. The cartoon was like, you know, kind of sandwiched in the middle of the live action segments. The live action segments originally starred Captain Lou Albano, a WWE wrestler from like the 1980s. And, you know, he was Mario. Danny Wells was Luigi. So, you know, that was kind of wild casting, but it did work. It did work. They did look a lot older, but it kind of worked. It was pretty wild. Then they stopped with Captain Lou Albano and Danny Wells, and they made it like some Club Mario. It was the same concept. It was, you know, they would watch the cartoons, but it was like these 2 surfer twins that had like a live action segment, and then they would surf through the internet, I guess. And as they surfed through the internet, they became bulldogs. It's really weird. It was a really weird concept. That's when I stopped watching it. It just got boring. It got crazy. Too crazy for me. You know, the Saturday morning cartoons, like I said, they had Super Mario Bros. 3. Super Mario Bros. 3, it was all cartoon and involved a lot of, obviously, what was going on in the Super Mario Bros. 3 games. You had King Koopa, the Koopa Kids, which was kind of weird because like there's all this controversy behind them as well. They're not actually his kids. They're not even adopted. They're just like these mini minions or something like that he kind of like likes and takes on or something. Really strange the way that they did it. But you know, again, lots of different iterations of Mario, lots of different hacks of Mario, and you know, he's just an iconic character. And this is actually fun. Super Mario Bros. 2, even though it really wasn't what we were supposed to get. I could play the original Super Mario Bros. 2, which we have deemed the Lost Levels. It's actually called, and the first time we actually got it was, there was a Super Mario All-Stars game for the Super Nintendo, in which they gave us all the Mario games with, like, you know, enhanced 16-bit graphics, and the Lost Levels was one of those that was on there. However, I do have a copy of the Lost Levels, the actual Japanese version of Super Mario Bros. 2. I also have the Little Mario Game & Watch that came out a couple of years ago. That actually includes the original Super Mario Bros. 2. It has the original Super Mario Bros. 1 and the Japanese version of Super Mario Bros. 2. So that one was pretty... It was pretty cool. I actually enjoyed it. It is difficult. There is a lot of difficulty in it. There's a lot of things that you're not used to. There are these mushrooms that you would think would help you to grow, but they're actually poisonous. They do harm. You know, they made a couple of different iterations like that. And then, of course, if you ever play Mario Maker for the Nintendo Switch, you could actually use all those assets to create your own version of any of the Super Mario Brothers games, or any other game that you know, besides a Mario-style game. I mean, you're still using their assets, but I've seen people make these crazy, you know, like pinball things. I've seen people make, you know, like just these crazy death traps. If you ever see those insane Mario levels, like on Facebook or something like that, that's how they made it. They did it with Mario Maker. Not sure about, like, if the Avengers were in Super Mario or anything like that. Like you see on the Facebook posts, there's a bunch of videos like that, where it'll be, you know, like Captain America fighting Bowser, or Wolverine fighting Bowser, you know, Luke Skywalker fighting Bowser, things like that. I don't know if any of that is actually, you know, like you can put those assets in the game. But again, overall, it is a fun game. Look at this. Toad is still... He's very spry, he's very nimble, and he's just, he picks things up really quick. That was his ability. And he still, it's just funny seeing him, like the smaller version of him. He still looks like himself. He doesn't look any different. Well, he kind of does. And the weird thing is that, like, in the cartoons, they established Toad as, and you know, like a individual character, but they're all, this is how all the people look. It's kind of wild. Now, in the original Doki Doki Panic, there was a lot of themes of, you know, different levels, like deserts, like the snow area, plains areas, there's a night area. There were a lot of those things that they had in Doki Doki Panic. However, again, I'm going to do a little more research in it. Maybe I'll find Doki Doki Panic and play it for you guys, because it is pretty wild. It is pretty wild to think that all those characters, if these enemies are not in that game, it's wild that they took the Doki Doki Panic assets to create this alternative. Oh, I'm not gonna make this. I knew it. I knew it. I really do think that that's pretty wild that they use that, because even in the cartoon, like I said, in the Super Mario Bros. Cartoons that they had, they used these assets, you know, in the IP. They had, like, whenever they did, like, a Western version, because every Mario cartoon had its own different theme, so there would be, like, a Western theme, and if it was, like, a Western theme, they would use those snakes that spit the bullets. Those were like the guns. They had those guys holstered, and they would pull them out, and they would use them to shoot. It was pretty wild. I know Mouser was like a regular in, like, that cartoon as well. He was always there causing trouble, acting up. A lot of fun memories of those guys, though. went the wrong way. So crazy trying to remember this. So wild. I hate, like, now I gotta do like this side to side kind of thing to avoid those guys. It's just easier to like dig and not worry about like what those guys are doing. Just dig straight down, get through the level. This one's gonna be kind of crazy. These jars or whatever, like, I don't know what they are, like metal mushrooms or something. I forget what these are. But not only could you use them to like climb up, you could also use them to like throw at this thing. This birdo. There we go. Take that orb and escape. And I'm through. Look at this. I'm so bad at that. I gotta figure out the trick to that. I remember I used to have this so calculated where like I could go to different levels and I used different characters in different levels and I had it all mapped out. Like I used them in their most efficient areas to where I could take shortcuts. I knew where all the secrets were. I knew where the warp zones were. I used to do stuff like that. That stuff was wild. There would be like I remember in the snow cap area, there was like like these two towers, and you couldn't cross it by jumping across. You had to literally use or go through the entire level. You had to go through the entire tower and just navigate it and escape. And I remember going to that specific level and using the princess, you could just glide across the entire area and you could get to the end of that level in like 5 seconds. And just like escape and you were done with the level. I remember all that stuff. One thing I don't miss about this, all the slowdown when you had too many enemies on like screen. That was like a big thing back in the day. The original Nintendo, like every time you see the game slow down or like the music kind of gets like wonky or whatever, that was normal back in the day. Because there were too many enemies on screen, there were too many characters, too much was going on. So like everything would slow down, the music would be like and stuff like that. It was so wild. I'm glad we don't have that anymore. Now we just have game-breaking bugs. But, you know, like, what makes me laugh is that, like, everybody who complains that I do glitches on, like, you know, all our current games and everything like that, you know, cheats have been around since forever. There have been cheats and secrets in gaming, I mean, since the beginning of gaming. Like, that's why, like, I don't understand people, like, it doesn't bother me when people, you know, like, get mad and they're like, oh, you're cheating, you can't play the game without cheating, you know, like, I don't care what you think, you know, like, some people just like to have an easier time at the game, you know? Do I like to challenge myself? Absolutely. Do I like to play sometimes and you know, just relax while I'm playing the game? Absolutely. There is no wrong way to play the game. Unless it's a way that you're going to play it where you're going to do self-harm or something like that. You know? If you want to, like, sit in a vat of peanut butter and, you know, to have somebody rub honey on, like, your temples and, you know, have, like, your cousin, like, shoot grapes into your mouth from across the room, like, that's fine. While you're playing the game, that's fine. You know? Like, I mean, some people just, you know, like, there is no gamer heaven. You're not going to gamer heaven if you don't cheat. God is not going to look at you and say, oh, you never cheated in a video game. You're good. Welcome to heaven. You're delusional if you think. And unfortunately, a lot of people are delusional. And no, I do not have a peanut butter cake or anything like that, so you stop that. Try Clyde. This was another really wild monster. I remember Nintendo had like some of the best monsters back in the day. Sega Master System was cool, but it wasn't Nintendo cool. Sega Genesis was better. They did a lot better on the Genesis than they did on the Master System. There we go. I got so many coins it says A. That's Master. Oh, so I only got 10 coins. There we go. So we just got to speed. Yeah. Speed mash the button. Nope. Not lucky that time. There we go. Aha. Well, I think I'm going to end it here. You know, this has been like a good 30 minutes. You know, I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, please like and subscribe. It helps this channel out an awful lot. Also, go check out Dark Retro. And, you know, I play games like this all the time. If there's anything that you want to see me play that's old school, let me know. And if, you know, you want me to continue this, also let me know. Other than that, again, thanks for watching.